Broadway has its Tony Awards. Music has the Grammys. Science has the Nobel Prize. And the Academy Awards recognize achievements in film. Welcome to the 2015 Bunkum Awards, recognizing the lowlights in educational research for the past year. The word bunkum comes from Bunkum County in North Carolina. Bunkum County produced a congressman, Representative Felix Walker, who gained infamy back in 1820 for delivering a particularly meaningless, irrelevant, and seemingly endless speech. Thus, bunkum became a term for long-winded nonsense of the kind often seen in politics and education. Hello, I'm David Berliner, a fellow of the National Education Policy Center at the University of Colorado, known as NEPC. At NEPC, our interdisciplinary group of scholars believes that the taxpayers who finance public education deserve smart policies based on sound evidence. Unfortunately, a lot of so-called think tanks working in the field of education are producing something much different. Half-baked opinions supported by weak evidence or no evidence at all. The Bunkum Award, then, is the National Education Policy Center's annual salute to the most laughably bad think tank works examined by the expert reviewers for NEPC's Think Twice Think Tank Review Project. These are the publications reviewed over the previous year that have shown the logical and methodological chutzpah to truly sink below what has become a crowded field. This year's Bunkum Award goes to the National Alliance for Public Charter Schools for its report touting the wonders of charter schools. The report is adorned with 15 charming photos of smiling children keeping watch over 21 easy-to-digest ersatz myths about charter schools. Each alleged myth is followed by responses that are alleged to be facts. The National Alliance titled its report, Separating Fact from Fiction, What You Need to Know About Charter Schools. But we think the more appropriate and fitting title for this incredible list of 21 purported truths should be Playing 21 with a Stacked Deck. It presents a consistently misleading set of questions and answers. We could only marvel at the sheer breadth of its claims, and we were left breathless by its outright assault on the simple idea that policy should be thoughtful and based on sound evidence. Although the 21 so-called myths raise interesting and legitimate issues spawned by the rapid growth of charter schools, the framing of these alleged myths sets up straw man arguments. Indeed, the facts presented to counter the myths often amount to non sequiturs that misdirect readers. The anonymous authors, unnamed in the report, perhaps justifiably seeking anonymity, resorted to the rhetorical equivalent of well-worn card tricks: the palmed card, the sucker's bet, and the false cut. Let me explain the palmed card ruse. The report's number one myth is that charter schools are not public schools. The report then refutes this by saying that, quote, as defined in federal and state law, charter schools are public schools, unquote. And indeed, this is technically true. But readers are never told that charter schools live in a highly nuanced, opaque, and ambiguous niche that is part public and part private. Charter schools receive public funding. Students do not pay tuition for education, and charters are subject to certain non-discrimination and testing laws. So they're public in some respects, but in other respects, they're private. NEPC's expert reviewers explained that most charter schools are governed by private boards. It is increasingly the case that charter school buildings are privately owned by the charter's founders, or by an affiliated private company, or by a private trust. In schools operated by private education management organizations, or EMOs, The materials, the furniture, the equipment in the schools are usually privately owned by the EMO and leased to the school. About half of the nation's charter school students are enrolled in private EMO-operated schools. Further, it is common for teachers to be legally considered private employees of the EMO. And charter schools and their private operators increasingly refuse to share information and data in response to public requests, unlike public schools, which are subject to transparency laws. So yes, as defined in federal and state law, charter schools are public schools. But the report does the Bunkum Award-worthy trick of never letting its readers see the palmed card. It never provides its readers with the full truth. Let me describe the sucker's bet technique used in this report. 3 of the first 4 myths listed in the report concern money, with the key myth being that charter schools get more money than other public schools. The gist of the author's responses to these alleged myths is that charter schools are responsible stewards of unfairly small allocations of what public money they do receive. Readers are encouraged to bet all their chips on charter schools, since the authors report the fact that charter schools are efficient academic powerhouses. Readers never learned that this is a sucker's bet, since the research on which these claims rely has been thoroughly debunked. As our expert reviewers explained, the lesser public funding received by charter schools is largely explained by charter schools spending less on special education, less on student support services, less on transportation, and less on food services. It's outrageous for charter schools to make a claim for public funding for special education when the schools actually enroll students with fewer special education needs. But there is more. Let me describe the false cut. The report's response to the myth that the charter movement is anti-union is vigorously deflected by the assertion that the schools are actually pro-teacher. Well, that's nice, of course, but what has that got to do with the charge that charters are anti-union? Similarly, when answering the charge that charters hire less qualified teachers, the report says, charter leaders aim to hire talented, passionate, and qualified teachers who will boost student achievement and contribute to a thriving school culture. Again, we see the skill of the anonymous magicians who wrote this report. Their sleight of hand is at work, since aiming to hire good teachers has nothing to do with the well-established fact that charters hire teachers with less preparation and less experience than do public schools. Throughout the report, evidence gets lost in the shuffle. Our reviewers found exactly 1 article among the 47 report citations that had been published in a peer-reviewed journal. 1. On the other hand, almost 2/3 of the citations were to publications of advocacy organizations. And so, looking back on the past year, we found an indisputable winner of the National Education Policy Center's Bunkum Award. Our heartfelt congratulations go to the National Alliance for Public Charter Schools. Find out more about our 2015 Bunkum Award winner at this website. Thanks for joining us, and be sure to visit us at nepc.colorado.edu to find out what's good, what's bad, and what's ugly in the world of think tank research about education.